here's a question for you. What do President Bush and Batman have in common? You got anything?
I can't hazard a guess, but our next guest can. Joining us from Los Angeles to discuss his article in the Wall Street Journal about the similarities between the two is novelist and screenwriter Andrew Klavan. Andrew, good morning. Thanks for getting up so early.
Yeah, it is early out here, but it's good morning to you, too.
All right, so when you saw the new Batman movie, The Dark Knight, you were struck by the similarities between Batman and President Bush, even in some of the imagery that the director used. Tell us about those.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that people were surprised to hear this. It seemed really obvious to me. Bush and Batman both have to fight terrorists. They have to resort to violence, to take on violence. They both have to use kind of new methods of surveillance that push the limits of our civil rights. And most importantly, and most impressively, both Bush and Batman sacrifice their popularity and become hated and reviled by the very people they protect and defend. And that, to me, is the most poignant thing about the movie. Right. And it's also the most poignant thing about the Bush administration.
Now, Andrew, we all know that Hollywood tends to lean a bit to the left, so they couldn't just come out and say this. They got to put Batman in a mask, right? Because it's not PC right now to talk about the effectiveness of someone like President Bush, right? So you got to put a mask on him.
This is the craziest thing, you know. If you look at movies that have good conservative, pro-American values, values like faith, the belief in the existence of good and evil, the need for self-sacrifice, you're always talking about masks and fantasies, Lord of the Rings, Narnia, right. Spider-Man 3. The minute Hollywood turns to realistic depictions of the war on terror, suddenly you get this string of dull, conformist, left-wing, anti-American films like In the Valley of Elah, Rendition, Redaction. Even the names sound the same. And suddenly they lose their values. They think that America and the terrorists are in moral equivalence. They think that our soldiers, who are really heroes, are the bad guys. It's very hard to understand when the conservative fantasy films make a ton of money and those other films bomb.
Okay, so Andrew, if this was by design and if the director really was using symbolism to depict this administration, who then is Robin in the administration?
Well, there is no Robin in the Dark Knight, but Lucius Fox, who's played by Morgan Freeman, takes a kind of a Dick Cheney role. He's the guy who's in charge of the surveillance, and he's the fellow who has to turn off the surveillance when the emergency is over. Thinking of Dick Cheney in a Robin costume may be more than the imagination of man can bear.
Yeah,
so
I don't think he would want to be likened to Boy Wonder either.
Yeah, Allison has a different theory, though, Andrew. You say the butler.
I thought that maybe it was Alfred from the TV show.
Dick Cheney was Alfred.
Yeah.
Right. How do you feel about that?
He does make a mean gin and tonic, I've heard, so maybe you're right.
Any Catwoman?
I don't want to talk about that at all. I can only get myself in trouble.
Oh, that's great. Well, so it sounds like you think that this was absolutely by design, and in fact, one of the interesting things you said, even the way the the bat wings looked in the movie, the symbol reminded you of a W.
By the end of the movie, I actually expected them to flash a W up in the sky, and I was kind of thinking, well, gee, maybe Bush will actually show up, which would have been an interesting end to the picture. Didn't work out that way.
All right, Andrew Klavan, thanks so much for coming on and talking about your article that can be found in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, check it out on wallstreetjournal.com. Great piece if you haven't.